speaker is Mr. Morel from the Technical University in Israel, and he's going to talk about new GIS analysis tool.
Yes. Okay, so hi all of you. Let's see if I get it right. No? Yes. Okay, so I will try to be optimistic, at least in my first words, because we're seeing in the last decade or so that many cities around the world are trying to promote urban forestry plans, which are very good for the environment and very good for urban heat. Sometimes they even put these measures into place because of their concern about urban heat. Now, there's a interesting question lurking behind all these plans, which is where are you actually going to put your next tree or your next 100 trees or your next 1,000 trees? And this question actually has something to do with the purpose of the whole project. And in many places, you put new trees into cities to provide more shade, as we understand. Shade is really, really, really important in hot places and even in cooler ones. And we've shown this in numerous cases. And trees are really expected to be a miracle tool for overcoming this difficulty of lack of shade. The only problem is here that we do not have enough data on where shade actually is and how to quantify shade. And this is a huge problem because we're expected to help urban designers and urban planners to make better places. We are not, as people are concerned about urban climatology, we are not the ones who will change how things are. We are not planners and designers, and if we cannot communicate wisely and efficiently our knowledge to these professions, to the urban designers and planners, and to architects, landscape architects, etc., we're probably stuck at the same place. This understanding have led me several years ago in work that I've done for the city of Tel Aviv to develop a concept of shade mapping that can be utilized. It was then not very easily, but it was utilized to understand the shade hierarchy of Tel Aviv at that time, looking at the street segment level. So we're averaging raw values and getting this map, which shows you actually how different street segments react to shade, how much shade they actually produce during summer. The problem is that this was very, very time intensive. And the work that I'm sharing today is actually taking this nice idea and trying to package it into something, into a specific tool that facilitates much of the process and makes it something that can be replicated quite quickly to many, many cities, at least now in Israel. And of course, here we're standing on the shoulders of giants because we couldn't make it without the UMAP tool for QGIS that really, really helps, especially in creating these irradiance maps that we're basing everything on. Because we're calculating not shade, but actually irradiance through UMAP, we must use the specific type of data that UMAP uses. Sorry. And basically, these are DSMs and DTMs of the urban environment. Now, there is a catch here because in UMAP you have to divide between the buildings and the tree canopies, which is not an easy task. Fortunately enough, in Israel, we have since last year a national tree canopy layer that was produced by the Survey of Israel, and then extracting tree canopies from these DSMs is quite easy. We thought of integrating this into our own tool, but we didn't get to it. Maybe in the future, I don't know. But in the end, you get a tree canopy DSM and a building DSM, and then you can move on to generating sky view factor layers. Now, this is a huge problem currently in UMAP. It takes huge amounts of time to produce a single map for an entire city. I'm talking about days and even weeks sometimes. It depends on the size of the city. And therefore, we had to somehow overcome this obstacle. And what we did is actually tweaking the original code of UMAP and enabling to do the calculation based on GPUs. And this proved quite efficient. We managed to reduce calculation time by 90%, which was great. And this enabled us to go further and make things actually work. For calculating the shade maps, we actually use a single summer day. Of course, you can do it for any day that you would like, for 10 consecutive hours. And we're getting raw pixel size irradiance figures. And then we take everything and we total it. We sum it up so we can have this nice summary of what happens during a single summer day. And we're doing this because we're thinking that just looking at a specific time won't give us the entire understanding of how a certain area of a city or a certain street segment of a city actually performs. Of course, we can produce similar maps for specific hours if this is what is the most interesting thing that you would like to look into. Now, this is a very nice outcome, but the question is how you take out concrete insights in terms of planning. And for this, we have to average this data according to some logic, which is a spatial logic of an urban planner. Our spatial logic, as we see it, is to try to average everything according to street segments and open public spaces. But unfortunately, we don't have these layers available. So there's another obstacle which we had to overcome. Fortunately enough, we have almost always land use polygon layer, and by processing it, so we're merging everything public, and then we resegment it according to some geometrical logic. We can create this polygon layer map, which can be then overlaid over the raw irradiance data, and then from here we're going into spatial averages. So for each street segment or for each polygon here, we're having a single shade index value, and we're getting this nice mapping or nice hierarchy of shade during summer. Of course, because we're working through the UMAP environment, we can also take out the trees and see what the difference is between tree and treeless environment. And we're giving a very high resolution understanding of the effect of trees in this respect. Another byproduct of the process is that if we have this street segment analysis that we have, and we overlay it with the tree canopy cover layer, we actually can create tree canopy cover ratios for every street segment, which is something that shows you the hierarchy not of shade, but actually of provision of shade trees in the city, which is highly important for managing your urban forest. Now, we've done this for several cities now in Israel in different sizes, from about 10 square kilometers to about 50 square kilometers. And we hope to continue doing this in the next year because there is an interesting project going on in Israel, a national project of tree planting for shade purposes. And it's easy to see that already now we can see the differences that each city has between different street segments. So every city has the weak spots and the good spots, so to speak. But you can also see huge differences between cities. And these differences sometimes are, in effect, the outcome of the existing or non-existent urban canopy, tree canopy. But at the same time, they also reflect quite easily some planning conventions that went through the years. And what we can say already now is that as you go back, the urban environment, regardless of trees, is actually much more adapted to the urban heat by producing shade also through the buildings themselves. So newer cities in Israel actually are performing much worse than older parts of cities. One more thing that is important to stress here is that by comparing the tree and treeless shade maps, you can not just see where shade is missing, but actually where shade is very much dependent on on the existing canopy layer of tree canopy layer and the existing tree inventory that you have. And this is highly important because it's not just about planting new trees, but actually you should look very much into preserving what you already have. So a city that is really into keeping things as they are, if not improving it, they should look at something like this and compare, understand where are the crucial points that they should preserve the trees in whatever is going to be the case. Now, one last slide is showing you that, of course, we did it on a scale of a street segment, but at the same time, if you want to juxtapose your information about shade also with some social demographic data, for example, you can scale down the analysis to neighborhoods, to statistical zones, etc. And then you can try or start to understand not just the shade hierarchy, but also where you actually want to put your money in terms, not just in terms of shade, but actually in terms of making people more happy or overcome deficiencies which are not only climate based. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandrovich, for this nice view and to see what happens if we remove trees. Any questions from the other?